There will be a bang, but in which direction? And what exactly is going on with that? That's exactly what we're talking about today, because if we look at it currently, it feels like some people who look at the Bitcoin chart daily think they're invested in some small cap mint-pay. It's absolutely wild how volatile the situation is right now, what the market makers are doing exactly, and what's happening geopolitically as well. And why I'm pretty sure that the Big Bang is imminent. Just in which direction, that's the big question. We'll analyze that in the video. And you'll also get a trading setup. Let's get started. See you after the intro. Now new, Uptrend VIP Trading. Your opportunity to copy the signals of 2 professional traders for free. They managed to grow an account from $4,000 to build up to $30,000. The results in the group are also impressive. All you need for this is a deposit of $100 into your BingX account. You can find all further information below in the description. And let's just start off on a very positive note. Yesterday, I showed a limit order in the video, and everyone, so no financial advice here, but everyone who might have copied it did so without leverage. Just casually took a 7.5% profit on Bitcoin. Here is a brief excerpt from the account I manage for someone else. And you can see here, it's almost our 32% in profit. So that was really nice. I also closed it in the meantime. Of course, one could say yes, but now it has risen further. Yes, but that's why I'm looking for new entries again. I'll reveal something about that at the end of the video. Yes, overall, you can also note the crypto bubbles at this point. Something is happening. It's positive again, but will it continue like this? So often enough, we've had the case, and of course, since Bitcoin is so extremely volatile, you can see it here with the altcoins. They can quickly pump by 20%. And we're talking here, for example, about ADA, which is indeed quite a large project, or also other assets that are accordingly pushed up and down like a ping pong. I would still bring in a bit of calm because no one knows where the bottom has effectively been found. And who knows? Maybe we'll suddenly see Bitcoin at 78 or 70K tomorrow or something like that, which is, however, a fact. Fear is still in the market. We are currently at 25. You can also see it here. We are now just back to a relatively normal value, but even that has rarely been this low. Yes. Still, if you plan to buy, do dollar cost averaging. And again, a big thank you for yesterday's video, for the many views. I know it's not an easy time. I know there was a lot of hate again. How could I say that no XRP reserves are coming? Guys, I'm just stating the plain facts here. It doesn't benefit you. If I put out some hype videos, it's nice, but unfortunately, it usually just makes you poor in the end. So if you like this kind of content and want to boost the video, and also want to do a bit more for the algorithm, it's super easy. Just press this button. Completely free, just leave a like now, boost the algorithm. Of course, if you don't like the video, you can also dislike it here, and feel free to leave a comment about your criticism, or if you find what I do here cool. And if you're now possibly wondering what is the goal of this channel, I provide you with the most important crypto news daily. Honestly, fact-based, neutral, without hype. If you're interested in that, feel free to leave a free subscription now. Activate the bell so you don't miss any important information. And now let's continue. A quick look at the NASDAQ. Yes, it reacts to that. Bitcoin. I think we've all learned that by now. And here it's also quite exciting. This critical zone, which I mentioned, was tested again exactly here. Fortunately, the rejection upwards. Now we have to see. It's a red candle. Let's hope for a bullish impulse to continue. Otherwise, Bitcoin could also make a turnaround again. The Bitcoin dominance is still in a sideways movement. So logically, we can't really talk about overheating here right now. Which logically also leads to the question for those wondering what's happening with the altcoins. Well, they're pumping a bit right now because Bitcoin is pumping. However, they have also lost a lot in the past, especially in the last days and weeks. Please don't assume that we're on the verge of an altcoin season, so that could still take quite a while. I have still marked here where an overheating could slowly occur. Just briefly again, a look at the P cycle top indicator, which I haven't shown for a while, just to perhaps bring you a bit of calm. So we had the last bull run here, and here we had the significant top of Bitcoin. This is when the white, or rather the yellow, the white line is touched. Well, so here we see we are currently at a value at the white line of, let's say, plus or minus $150,000. And the yellow line is also quite far away here if you compare it, for example, here. So all in all, it still looks like quite a bit is possible here. But now it's just a view from the past reflected into the future. But why should there be such a bang now? Well, so in March, there is now bundled closely together. A lot of actions are planned, paired with the trading figures, which I'll get to in a moment, why they can also play a good role. But the first big thing will probably be this Friday, the first crypto summit at the White House. Here you can also find some more information about it. A few people have already been confirmed to attend, so David Sachs is inviting here, and I've also heard that Trump is supposed to be there as well. I can give you the tip again. If you don't want to miss any news and want to have the latest updates, then feel free to check me out on X, look for Uptrend info, or in the description, there's the link to it. I already shared earlier this morning who has been confirmed so far. And there are already a few prominent people, but I also want to add at this point, because yesterday random lists were shared about who might have been invited. So up to this point, at least at the time of this recording, and posting, the invited persons, meaning the list, has not yet been published, but it continues directly. Maybe some of you missed it because yesterday. There was also information that the SEC Crypto Task Force will start a roundtable on March 21st. And as it nicely states here, the initial session will be open to the public and streamed live. This means we should perhaps also take a look at March 21st. March, unfortunately, this could also send a bearish impulse. It feels like everyone is looking forward to this crypto highlight on Friday. What will happen at the White House? When the tension is so high, unfortunately, it can also bring a counter-reaction if this bullish momentum is not fulfilled. So I remind you, people thought the crypto task force was already in the year 2025 and not just at the beginning of Bitcoin. However, it was noticeable in the last committee that the level of knowledge is still very, very reserved. So, for now, we have to wait and see what happens, but there are events that will or can bring corresponding volatility to the market. And with that, we come to the penalty cells. And yes, you might be asking yourself at this point, Daniel, seriously. The penalty cell, are they supposed to support Bitcoin now? So haven't you looked at the charts just now? That's what's causing these extreme fluctuations and especially the severe dips. Yes, of course, Bitcoin is weakening because the NASDAQ is weakening. However, this doesn't have to be the case in the long term. We can all ask ourselves the question now, I'll just briefly touch on it. Why? Trump is going through with all this. Sure, he has a thorn in his side regarding migration, drug smuggling, and so on. On the other hand, he could also be waging a private war with the Fed in parallel. Because he wants low interest rates. He has communicated this frequently, and it was the same during his first term. But the Fed doesn't want that right now. Now, however, he can put pressure on the Fed with these penalty cells. But how is this supposed to work exactly? Well, Trump introduces the penalty cell. Now, the big question is, how could this in turn weaken the US economy? Relatively logical. On the one hand, there are rising prices for consumer goods. Of course, the penalty cell makes everything more expensive. The US companies that rely on foreign raw materials, they can then either access domestic ones, but if there is nothing comparable, they have to bear higher costs. Consumer prices rise as a result, and now please pay attention before you think, wait a minute, that's a counter movement. Inflation could rise again because of this. But it goes further. There is an economic cooling due to the trade conflicts. Sure, other countries, they could take countermeasures, which have already been announced. Exports from the USA become more expensive, which could slow down the US economy. This increases the pressure on companies. This means higher costs, which could lead to layoffs and reduced investments. and so on, everything that follows from that. And if companies earn less, growth could collapse. But how does this affect the Fed now? The Fed adjusts its monetary policy according to the economic situation. If inflation rises, the Fed usually has to keep interest rates high. We all know that. But if the economy weakens, for example, due to the negative effects of tariffs, then the Fed could lower the key interest rate to stabilize the economy. And in the end, Trump would have achieved his goal. And with that, let's move directly on to the Bitcoin dollar index. Because here you can also see Trump generally wants a weak dollar, which is good for exports. And now we aim here, we indeed have a downtrend. Now let's see if this continues, but historically speaking, just zooming out here, or making it a bit clearer, a weak dollar is always good for a strong Bitcoin. So, we can wait and see here whether there will be a trend reversal for Bitcoin now. And finally, before we get to the trading setup, I made a detailed video about it on the 12th. It starts on March 12th. Whether it's really on the 12th of March or when March is or when, please don't pin me down on it otherwise. For the exact details, feel free to check out this video. In summary, we see here that US inflation, at least according to this website, is currently dropping significantly. And on the other hand, we have a forecast that stands somewhere completely different. So if it really happens that we have such a gap in between, that could become a massive pump if it really comes to that. But now let's continue directly, because I've already placed a few limit orders down here. I want to say right away, this is not financial advice. It is not meant for you to replicate this. However, let's take a look at the individual positions. Now, I also had something open with Bitcoin, which unfortunately messed up my plan a bit because Bitcoin has already risen further and has already reached that specific zone. And with that, let's take a direct look at Ethereum. And it's easy to see that there's quite attractive liquidity here. That's why I've already placed a limit order at $2,100. Let's see when and how it will be executed. This, of course, also depends on the Wall Street opening. So when the markets open, there's usually a bit of volatility beforehand. Maybe there will be a brief dip downwards. And then looking further at the 3-day view, I've set my take profit up here. Because I can very well imagine that if there's this small dip downwards, then this area up here might be targeted next. So let's take a quick look at the 15-minute chart for this as well. One could say that perhaps we have finally seen a bottom formation. This critical zone, which I had marked here, was thoroughly tested again. Now it has moved upwards. As I said, I can still imagine that the market makers might say yes, but down there's still interesting liquidity. This is then this area, so this 2100 that I have placed here. But even when you look at it on a larger scale, it already looks quite solid. So let's be surprised whether this was effectively it, or if it goes deeper again. The news will report it, but then it would be conceivable that this volume area up here will be picked up again. That's exactly where I have also set the task for profit traders. Also with Solana, there is still quite a bit down here. Attractive liquidity. Especially in the area around $140. Yes, that looks quite appealing. And then I have exceptionally pulled out Cardano ADA again because I find it quite interesting. We have a massive block here lying at 90 cents and then further down at just under 78 cents, especially for compound. There would indeed be the possibility, if one says, for example, to place an order in this zone, that if the price goes further down, one could become active here again. But that could also be quite interesting. Let's wait and see how the markets react now. And also a quick look at the chart, so it can be noted that the vector candle, for example with XRP, which came on the basis of the Trump pump, was completely retraced. With Cardano, it has settled well here, and you can also see what kind of support area is present here and how often there has already been movement. So here we are exactly in this range, around 82 down to 78, give or take. Therefore, it is quite possible that the chart might move here again for a retest. and then it might go back up again. You can also see it right at the peak. From the Trump pump, we were exactly at this high, exactly in this range. And then it just continued downwards. So let's wait for the Wall Street opening today. That's it for today. I'm very curious if you liked the video. If so, feel free to leave a free like. It's not time consuming at all and doesn't cost anything. And with that, you can help push this video further. Otherwise, feel free to write in the comments what your opinion is. Do you perhaps see a different movement? Do you think now comes another big correction? Or do you believe that was it with the bottom formation? I'm very curious. Just write it in. And finally, I can give you the tip. I talked about the Bitcoin reserves. Feel free to click in here. Yes, it's not a hype video, and yes, it contains the bitter truth. But honestly, if you are acting and investing in this market, then you should think rationally and see all the facts, not just the hype. So therefore, I can give you the tip. Feel free to check out this video. Otherwise, we'll see each other tomorrow in the next update. Until then, all the best. Bye.